Welcome to the Breakthrough to Your Best Success online event. Join your host, Elizabeth Hamilton-Guarino, and the contributors from the Success Guidebook and other special guests to visualize, actualize, and amplify you and your best success. This conference will help you redefine success, transform your goals, embrace change, design and realize your best life, and much more.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Breakthrough to Your Best Success Conference. I'm here with author Kelly Browne, fellow author, best-selling author Kelly Browne, my favorite human being. I love you, Kelly Browne.
I love you.
I kind of stalked you, actually. There's another lady in the conference too that I'm accused of stalking, Liz Bruner, on LinkedIn to find her because she knows Jack Canfield and I know Jack Canfield. I'm like, I've got to have you in the book.
Aww.
Same with you. You were my favorite author before I even knew your smiling, beautiful face.
Oh my goodness! Thank you so much. I did not realize that.
Yeah, I love your book. So before we talk about my books and all this stuff, let's talk about your books and where to find you and things like that, because you've got some cool books.
Yes. So the first book I wrote is called 101 Ways to Say Thank You. And it's basically everything you need to know to write a thank you note for every aspect of your life, from getting a job, college, weddings, babies, sympathy, teachers, everything. And you can either copy it or, a sample thank you note, or it can inspire you to write your own. And the new edition is up on all over the book platforms. And there's a new chapter on holiday thank you notes. So I'm excited about that because, as I was just telling you, I just wrote a Christmas movie script. So I'm excited about that. So then I have a kids version of the thank you note book. And then the book that's out right now with HCI, which we're both on that platform, is called 101 Ways to Create Mindful Forgiveness. And that is, the book that brought you and I together and really speaks to my heart and really covers not just how to say you're sorry, but how to give forgiveness and accept forgiveness and how to recognize it in your life and how truly important it is, not for the other person that wronged you, but more so for yourself, because it is something we carry around, these wounds that are still open, like years ago. So,
and I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you in the book too, is because I think if you don't tackle those issues and heal them up and, thank yous and forgiveness and gratitude and all these things, if you don't have that in your life, it's hard to find the success you desire. And so I thought you were a very clever addition to the book with, your take on things and your background and your books and so forth. So I think success is so much more, we talk about that, so much more than dollars and data and analytics and all of this stuff. It's just, there's so many components of it. Success is so multifaceted. So I thought the part about forgiveness and things like that in the book were important to have you in there. So I'm very grateful you're in the book. Thank you.
I'm grateful to be asked. So our chapter is chapter 9 about adjusting, and you introduced the chapter so beautifully. And I think that when you're asking the questions, and here I am, I'm just going.
No, you talk. These everybody's always so formal in these conferences and summits and things like that, and mine is way more relaxed.
Well,
I wouldn't want to sit and listen to 20 people if it's not fun.
Well, I'm excited. I'm really excited for your book. And so that's why I kind of just took the lead.
Yeah,
because I know, I already have mine on my iPad, the digital version, but I'm so excited for the print version, to come out in the next 2 weeks. But really success is, definitely evolves over time and definitely evolves over your life. Like your perception of success when you're in first grade is different than your perception of success when you're in high school or college and, getting married or, having big events in your life. And I think that what I would like to speak to is that, you know, in our chapter of adjusting, everything I thought I wanted completely changed as I went out into the working world. You know, the grass is always greener when we look at something and we say, oh, I really would love to live in that beautiful house in Hidden Hills with the horses and all of that. And then like you get there and you realize, oh my gosh, like this isn't what I wanted after all. I really, you know, feel like success for me is derived from having a roof over my head and people that I love in my life and relationships that are strong. And in our chapter, going through trauma really was a readjustment, completely a readjustment for me, because it really shattered everything that I've always been very spiritual, and I've always been like very grateful and all of that. But it really took me down to the ground where I felt shattered into a million pieces. And I talk about in the chapter that Japanese art of kintsugi, where it's the ceramic pieces that are broken and they're brought together with veins of gold, which is, I think, such a beautiful image. And, you know, when things happen in your life, you do have to readjust. And you do have to say, oh my gosh, like looking at things as a blessing rather than as a ill-fated, it's over for me, you know, I can never go on. And Oprah, I saw something on social media where when bad things happen in her life, or I shouldn't say bad things, but when things arise, she looks at them and says, what are you here to teach me?
Yeah.
And I wish that I had had that mindset to readjust when those things were happening. Like in my life, you know, I had catastrophic, my parents went through the Alicio Canyon disaster in Porter Ranch, which was the worst natural gas disaster in the history of the United States. And, you know, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know they were being gassed and poisoned. And then my daughter had a tragic accident, and my other daughter had to have like catastrophic surgery. So it's like all these things that happened. And then all of a sudden you see your child getting out of the hospital, but you see another child who's on life support. You know, all of a sudden the things that readjustment of, oh my gosh, I am so grateful that my child is alive. Right? Yeah. All of a sudden, the basic needs of life completely changed for me. Yeah. Again, I was grateful for everything, you know, like that was kind of the person that I am anyway. But right now, like you were brought down to survival. Yeah. And the things that were important, you know, had.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I asked you to be in the book is because, you know, I think I kind of had that experience too, and I could resonate with some of the things that you were talking about. You know, when you see somebody take their last breath, you know, like I did with my dad, it's really hard to articulate how meaningless certain things become.
Right.
Especially if they're material or anything. And I really, I don't know if that was, I know it was grief. I don't know if it was a little bit of sadness too. For years, like a 2 solid year period after he died. But, you know, it was like, does this really matter? You know, do my, you know, does buying jeans at Macy's matter? Does makeup matter? Does, you know, you just are like, oh my God, you know, somebody just passed away. And it just, it brings it to a different, it brings your life and everything to a different meaning. I don't know. It's really hard to explain, but I experienced that in almost overwhelming mode. And so when I read your story and, you know, from your books and things like that, I'm like, yeah, I get it completely. It makes way different things matter way more.
Yeah. And I think
things matter. Yeah,
absolutely. And when you have that lens of perspective,
yeah,
like it definitely changes you forever. Yeah. And, you know, you're no longer feeling jealous or envious of someone else. And you realize that, like, you know, the single most valuable thing you have in your life is your health. Yeah. Right. And the health of the people that you love.
Yeah.
And time. There was a question I saw on social media the other day, and that was, I'll give you $10 million, but today's your last day on earth. Would you take it?
That's
And
actually from one of my books. That's kind of funny that you just said that. That's
then
interesting.
coincidence, and all of a sudden the man said, no, I don't want $10 million. And then the interviewer said, well, that means that your life is worth $1 million right now. You know what I mean? Like, your life is way more valuable than you give yourself credit for.
Yeah, it's funny, there's a whole chapter in the book I wrote before about time versus money, and would you rather have this or that, or this or that, and so forth. It's interesting that that's carrying through. That came back. Hi.
Obviously they read it and
Yeah.
stole it. And so they're using it and not giving you credit.
Yeah, no, that's not good. All right, so let's go to the 5 questions that I have for you, so that we make sure that because I've been asking everybody these same 5 questions.
Yeah.
The Success Guidebook examines success in a new and redefined way. How has your perspective and pursuit of success evolved through your life?
Well, that's what I started out saying. Like, I definitely felt in the beginning of my life, I grew up in the entertainment industry. My dad is an assistant director, and I grew up on movie sets and TV sets all over the world. And I wanted to be a studio executive. And that was my sign of success, right? It's glamorous, the cameras. And when I started working in production, I started working on a television show called Moonlighting. And I started to see on the other side of the camera what it was really like and how hard everybody worked, and how, wow, this isn't really what I really want in my life. And then I went to work on a film called Glory in Georgia. And I'm a girl from LA, never been into the South before. It's 22, and it changed my life. Totally changed my life. And that is what made me want to be a writer, because I felt like I could. Well, also I worked with some pretty high profile, successful writers like Glenn Caron and Carrie Aaron. But you know, I thought that telling people's stories was so much more valuable than like being in a studio office. I mean, that would be a fabulous job too. But I think getting to the heart of what is important in this world, honor, respecting each other, and shedding a light on human dignity and compassion and all these different things. And so that kind of readjusted my life in such a unique way. I was actually in Savannah this last weekend, and I'm walking around saying, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for being here. And so yeah, also society, I think that like when we're in high school and college, like we have this certain expectation that society puts on us of what we should achieve, right? You should go to an Ivy League school, you should do this, you should do that. But when we take a different path, you know, you don't feel like, I know when my girls like went on and your boys went through college applications, there's so much pressure on, you know, do you go to community college? Do you do this? Do you do that? And it's incredibly difficult for them because they're comparing themselves to each other. And some of the most famous and most successful people in the world dropped out of Stanford, you know, and they followed their passion, they followed their intuition, and they marched the beat of their own drum, and they became successful because they listened to what their heart, you know, what gave them joy.
Right. How has the notion of success guided you in making big business and life decisions?
I would say that the notion of success has guided me in the aspect of what do I really want in my life. At this point, being halfway through my life, it's completely different because I'm looking at what gives me joy and what gives me like what gives meaning to my life. I don't want to do things that don't have a purpose. I want to feel like I've made a mark. I'm going to cry. I want to feel like I've made a mark on this world and that I've left something valuable behind. And so I don't necessarily think that, being the most successful person in the world is my sign of success. I would say it's how have I changed people's lives for the better.
Love it. That gave us a chance to see your beautiful green eyes too,
Oh my-
even if you're a little weepy. I love it.
I didn't expect to have that reaction. So
Yeah. No, I think that's really important too. That we're getting, I'm in my mid 50s too, and I think about that. It's like, okay, what? Yeah, you do. It's a natural thing you think about. I think. Okay, so now sometimes we miss our goals, which is fun, but we don't achieve the level of success we envision with whatever it is. We miss a benchmark we might have had, or whatever's going on. Can you talk about a time when you had to persevere through that type of disappointment? Or if it wasn't disappointment, if it was a learning curve, or whatever it was.
Sure. So I would say definitely if I've written a book and it doesn't sell as many copies as I'd like it to,
Yeah.
that I feel I've let myself down, or I've let the publisher down, or whatever, and it's upsetting. And then what I've done recently is just, okay, it's not over. You just have to reset. And today's a new day. And tomorrow the sun will rise and come up, and strategize for how I can make a change and put good energy back into it to make it grow. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that, my mom used to always say, wherever God closes a door, he opens a window. And, sometimes doing something a certain way isn't always the right path for you. So doing it a different way and coming at it in a more creative way will be more successful. I know we've talked about the Jack Canfield book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, and how it wasn't selling. And then he went out and he pitched it to people and he gave people copies, and it blew up because his energy and his love went into that. And I think that if you want something to be successful, you have to take charge of it and put that energy into it.
Yeah. We're in different times right now too. That's really hard. The book industry, I think, is so different than it was back then. There's some things that are the same, but it's so noisy out there on social media and the platforms. Yeah. And there's so many more books. When you first come up on Amazon, you're like ranked 13 millionth, right. or worse. And so it's tricky with all the self-published books and things like that. It's very noisy and very loud out there. So it's hard to do that. But I know I do that too. It's like, okay, how many copies is this going to sell? And then I'm like, wait a minute, is that what this is about? Because to me, I much prefer when people say your book changed my life, or something in your book changed my life, or that helped me, or that taught me, or whatever, versus sitting around counting how many copies I sell. But it's hard to keep being an author when you don't sell enough copies. It's a tricky situation. It's like, okay, and you get disappointed too. You're like, oh, I really thought that was going to sell differently, or turn out differently, or market differently, or whatever it was. And so I get it. And that's with anything. If you take our example of authorship and translate it into just about anything, it works. It's noisy out there. It's hard to get people's attention, and I saw something today somewhere. It's like, you're clamoring for the attention of strangers. It's like, yeah, I guess so. And that's
Right.
that in of itself. If you think about that, just to get their attention over to your page, and then you're asking people to buy something, that's a hard transition for people, for you to say, hey, I'm Elizabeth, buy my book. Okay.
Right.
Think how you operate. Do you do that? Like, do you go to, do you see strange posts on, just asking, do you see strangers posts on Instagram and go buy their book? No, probably.
Right.
So it's an interesting thing, social media. So it's anyway, but yeah, I think success has to get measured a little bit differently at moment for different things. But Let me go on to question 4 for the sake of time too, because we're going to go about 25 minutes or so. The most elusive aspect of finding success is the ability to have it encompass all aspects of our life. We talk a lot about comprehensive success. In other words, if people shoot for success this way and their health gets compromised, or their relationship gets compromised, or everything, trying to kind of balance that out. Do you believe in that? And how do you approach multifaceted success in your life?
Well, I think that is what success is really about, is it's multifaceted, right? And life is like a river and it's speeding constantly. And, I think that my greatest key to success is probably not reacting in the moment and freaking out over something that's happening, but stepping back and trying to look at something in a mindful way and then having a reaction to it. I think that I hope that my children think I've been a good mother and a successful mother. Like, that would be the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I hope people think I'm a good writer. Hope.
I think everybody thinks those things of you. Yes.
Yeah, that my relationships are really important to me and really important to me. And so those are the things that I would count are my success marks that I treasure and value. It wouldn't be as much the money number in my bank account, but like that, and I really feel that way. Like, if somebody would call me and say, like people come up to me at the yoga studio and say, and talk to me, and because they feel like I am open and I don't know if they think I'm like their mom, or I'm not sure, but I think that success just changes so much in our lives at such a fast rate that it really is how you garner it and what's important to you. It's not in the eyes of anyone else but you, really, because we walk this road alone, really. We come into the world alone, we leave alone, and the people we meet along the way enhance our journey. And it's how we feel about ourselves, right? That really, really counts. So you can't measure success by someone else's opinion of you. But, if someone thinks that you're amazing and change their life, I think that's a wonderful compliment. But not everyone in the world is going to love you. Yeah. And not everyone in the world is going to be your friend, and people feel threatened by you too. So you can't measure it.
How does authenticity and integrity factor into achieving success and maintaining it?
So I think that is like the most important question, because if you are behaving, or you come into your life in an authentic way and you have integrity, anything you do has to be coming from a good place, I think, because you're being real. You don't have an agenda to hurt someone. You don't suspect someone of doing you wrong. Of course, there's always those people in our lives that do. Yeah. But how do you handle it with integrity? For example, when someone is not being as genuine with you, right? You have to step back and you have to take a minute. And I have a lot of this in my forgiveness book, and how you handle people that don't always have your best interests at heart. Right. But there is that book, The 4 Agreements, about if you're impeccable with your word and your thought and your action. And that is what I think is really, really key. Yeah. Really key. It begins with you. And if you say and do good things and you're kind and have integrity, how can you not be successful? Because that is what you will attract. People will know you by your word and respect you in business and in your personal life.
Beautiful. All right. Where can people find you?
So I am on Instagram, Kelly Browne Official, and I have a website, kellybrowne.net, Kelly Browne with an E. And I'm on all the book platforms, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. And yes, please buy my book.
Definitely.
Please buy my forgiveness book, especially because that is so personal to me. And I hope it changes people's lives as much as it's changed mine.